The Newleaf Podcast. Project Management Insights. Be assured.
Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Newleaf Pod. I'm your host, Tolu, and I've got one of my very good friends here with us today. Lami, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So, thanks for the opportunity. I understand as a chairman, you give me this opportunity in this platform to speak about things. So yeah, my name is Kola, PMO analyst.
All right, perfect. Welcome.
Thanks.
He gives them official name Kola, but I call him Lami. I'm a K. I'm a Kizzle.
Yeah.
Oh, nice, lovely. So basically, for today's episode, we're going to be talking about struggles in the workplace. Okay. Now, just to set some context, as a community, by community as Black people, even working in the corporate space in the UK is a struggle in itself. In that, the corporate space is kind of like designed for the middle class white man, woman to kind of like thrive and excel and climb up the corporate ladder. But we have found ourselves over the last 2 decades basically forcing ourselves in, right, with our skills, our competence, and however way we forced ourselves in and trying to climb up that ladder. But we find ourselves having getting to that glass ceiling and then nothing happens. Or even some of us don't even get to that glass ceiling, and because the resilience is not there, we just give up. Okay. So I just felt like it would be a good topic to talk about struggles in the workplace. And we need to just talk about that with someone like you, right? Because obviously you have a unique story to kind of like tell. And then obviously I've got my own personal stories that we can tell us, or maybe we could just share that and just give people an opportunity to know that even though, we've all got like really good jobs, right? We're all living really good lives, but we face the same kind of struggles that you face as well. Okay, so if we can do it, then you can absolutely do it as well. Okay. Now, just before we go into the nitty-gritty of this, let's start with some icebreaker questions, as usual.
Yeah.
So, what funny office experiences have you had? What's your funniest moment since you started working?
Oh, that's a tough one, man, because I'm trying to think. My office funny at all. That should be the first question.
I think first thing, did you work remote? You work remotely most of the time?
I work remotely, yeah.
Okay.
I work remotely, so it's where I think we're all in our bubbles.
Right.
And we have meetings. If anything funny is happening, we'll be on the meeting, and it's not my kind of funny.
Cultural shift, yeah?
Yeah.
Fair.
It was funny to someone on the other side of the Atlantic.
May not be.
True. Yeah.
So do you find yourself where, just still on this topic, do you find yourself in a situation where maybe they invite you to drinks, for example, or since you guys work virtually, you guys do this Friday evening where they just tell you guys to just come with a glass of wine or come with tea, coffee, just chill, and then we're just talking about work, non-work stuff?
Yeah, so Friday 3 p.m. we have that.
Okay.
3 to 3:30, 3 to 4 sometimes. Talk about TV shows we're watching.
Right.
Talk about our plans for the weekend. Talk about family. Talk about football. Talk about stuff generally, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the first time you ever had to do it, what was going through your mind? Did you think, oh God, like, what do I actually have anything in common with these people?
It was kind of weird. It was weird, not because, so if you look at it from that perspective, from that point of view, it was weird because we were obviously different people.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously what I'm watching on Netflix or what I'm watching on Sky is completely different from what they're watching. Do you understand? The shows they find interesting are not the shows I find interesting. And so when everybody's giving recommendations, I'm like, okay, is my recommendation going to make sense to these people? You get? So from that point of view, yeah, it's a bit shaky. But I think as time went on, I kind of grew in confidence and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm watching. do you like it or do you like it?
So is it a case? Is it a case where you made your first and second suggestion and they're like, oh, okay, interesting, and then the confidence grew from there?
Yeah.
Or you just had your moment like, you know what? Actually, guys, I'm watching I Am Atanga Part
1. So no, I think it was more of I made the first suggestion. I looked at how the room received it.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And I'm like, okay, so this is the safe side. Right? Okay, shows like this are the shows that are on the safe side, so I could speak about shows like this. You get, because everybody. So okay, let me give an example. I remember very well. Like I mentioned Love Island.
Mm-hmm.
Now Love Island is a show that's borderline.
Mm-hmm.
To some people, it's trashy.
Yeah.
Right. To some people, is entertainment.
Yeah.
The pinnacle of entertainment. You get. So when I mentioned Love Island, everybody was like, I think it was my manager that spoke. I was like, yeah, I watch Love Island and this. Now, personally, I'm not sure if she really watched Love Island and she was just trying to make me feel like, do you understand?
Yeah.
But there was that awkward silence that also might have been in my head. You get. And it might not have been anything. But
what's the age bracket of your line manager?
Also, she's 29, I think.
She definitely watches it.
Yeah, I don't know, but there are other young people on the team that don't watch Love Island.
Right.
Yeah, so it was, but then there were the older people that were like, what's Love Island? You get, and they were quiet and they're like, well, I was like, no, it's this very interesting show. You should watch it. This, that. I'm like, Fair.
Okay, we will talk more about that one. Another icebreaker question. Did you find yourself that you started drinking a lot of like coffee? Okay, well, you work remotely. So did you, because my question was going to be, did you find yourself taking more coffee since you started working?
Yeah. So I've always been a coffee person. Always been a coffee person. Like, I don't drink anything else.
Even in Nigeria?
Yeah, even in Nigeria.
You're a posh guy. That hot Nigeria.
So I started investment banking, right? And in investment banking, everybody was drinking coffee. Then I remember my MD then, like, his coffee, when he makes coffee, like the whole building is smelling of his coffee. It was like super strong.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how like the whole building will be smelling of his coffee. Yeah. So I think it was from there that I picked that up, and because IB, you have late nights and early mornings and all of that.
Fair.
Yeah, you need that ginger to wake you up. Yeah. So I've always been a coffee person. Black, no sugar, strong.
Ooh.
Yeah.
God.
No sugar, no milk. Black.
So it's like, so your system has had to like get used to it, because God forbid I can't do that.
Yeah. It's an acquired taste, so I think you get used to it after a while.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. For me, I obviously pre-COVID, I used to go into the office a lot, and the first time I tried, it was not even black coffee. Hazelnut latte. No, hazelnut latte I like now. The first time I tried it, I was like, yeah. But the first time someone bought me, I think it was just standard coffee with extra milk, sugar, and everything. I started having the shakes. And I remember making a covenant with God. If you save this African guy from this, I will not drink it again.
Yeah.
And since then, I've just been a tea guy. If I want to be a bit bougie, I'll say hazelnut latte. Oh, that's fancy. Everything is packaging. You understand?
Yeah.
But no, that's sweet. Okay, so hope this has kind of like gotten us into the swing of things. So basically, the topic for today, again, just to reiterate for the guys that are just tuning in, struggles within the workplace. Context again is within the corporate space, it's quite difficult, let's be honest, right? To one, navigate, people, navigate your career. Some of us may be lucky with like good line managers that do not have an unconscious bias towards like us. Or some of us may have, so it's just about talking about some of our experiences, talking about your experience, if it's a good one or a bad one, and how you've been able to kind of like navigate. So I think what I would like to start with is like your initial journey. And I think it's very important. Your initial journey is very important because we have a lot of people that there's like a huge number of people that have migrated from like Africa. and even some places outside of the UK, outside of Europe, really, right? And they're thinking of things that they can do. A lot of people have reached out trying to transition to project management, but some people you would speak to them, but they just call it quits because they're thinking, nah, it's not for me. Okay. So the objective, what we're trying to achieve here is to let people know that forget all the fancy technical terms, okay? Now we.
Mm.
Do you understand?
Mhm.
It is us.
Mm.
If the same struggles that you're facing, what you face, whatever phase you're having now, you probably had it when you started. I probably had it when I started as well.
Mm.
So yeah, maybe I'll just let you go.
Where do I start from? I think as you were speaking, the first thing that came to my mind is there's nothing easy in life.
Yeah.
Right. So if anybody's going to settle for anything less, even especially in this country, there's nothing that's easy. Right. Everything you do is tough. So why don't you do the tough thing that's going to give you more money?
Yeah.
That's the first step. So if you have that at the back of your mind that everything you do is tough, because bro, if you want to go and work in the warehouse, you almost die. You will literally almost die.
That is even tougher.
That's even tougher. You get, or you want to do something secretarial somewhere, or customer service. Customer service, you'll be answering calls, your mouth will start paining you. You get, so there's nothing you're going to do that's not going to be easy. Or
the care job that
or the
people
care
do
job,
nowadays,
you understand?
It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. So why not do what is tough that gives you money and gives you fulfillment, and you know there's career progression, and you know there's the ability to better yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So as my journey, I moved here, I think in 2019. Right. And before I came into this line, I came with the Nigerian mentality of business. You understand?
Serial entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I said, okay, I'm coming here to hustle, you get, but this country, I think like the last time I said, no matter who you are, that 9 to 5 you shall do. You do that 9 to 5, do you understand? So I went into 9 to 5, and then obviously I trained with Newleaf. It was an amazing experience. I learned a lot, and then I got my role, and I think it took me 3 months, but it was 3 months of, it was like 1 month of actively interviewing and searching. The first 2 months, I think my training was in November, so by the time we finished, it was already December, and it was end of year. There was really nothing to do. January, everybody's still picking up. So it was in February, things started picking up, and I started applying in February, and I got my job in March. Yeah, so it was like, that was when, so it was like 2 active months, basically. Yeah. And then I got into the workplace, and I wouldn't say there was an imposter syndrome or anything, but because it was a new line and a new field, I'm like, do you know what you're doing? You get, and then there's this thing I always have at the back of my mind. I feel like Black people are looked on as lazy.
Really?
Right? So I felt like I was representing the whole Black race.
Because were you the only Black person in your team?
My team, I was the only
Are
Black
you still
person.
the only Black person in your team?
Yeah, we've had one Black person come and go.
Right.
And he kind of fits that narrative of being lazy.
Right.
Yeah, and he do so. For me, at the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, this is me representing
my race
or my ancestors. You get, and
Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever. You get, so I have to do well. I don't want anybody to see. You get, and I've tried my best and all of that. Yeah, but the point I'm just trying to make is that it's okay to have the jitters. It's okay to have that imposter syndrome. Like But first things first, I'm a Nigerian. You understand? So I have the confidence of a Nigerian. Anywhere you put me, I will stand out. You understand? Anywhere you put me, I will stand out. But even as I'm a Nigerian, in the back of my mind, I'm like, guy, you know what you're doing. Are you sure that you get? So for me, that was it. And it took me some time to get the hang of things. You get, because I work in consulting, super fast paced.
Yeah.
And apart from that, they're changing rules every day. So something on SharePoint we're using before that was a repository. Tomorrow they say, no, you're not using that, you're using this. You get, and you have to move very quickly. There are times they send emails about some changes. You just think it's a general email. You don't go through the email, and then you now realize
it was a change
that impacts you. Do you understand?
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. I mean, so sorry to stop you there. How did you actually feel? What was going through your mind on your first day? So you got your job. Yes, it was adrenaline rush. Yeah, I finally got my job. I'm happy. obviously, as black people, the first thing we do is once we see the salary, we bring out our calculator and calculate what it means for us. So we've been through all that phase, and then the weekend before you started your first job, you started on a Monday. What was going through your mind that weekend, and how was your first day? How did you, from a mindset perspective, what did you tell yourself? What affirmations did you tell yourself, or any? Or was it more of back shots of Casamigos, let's go. Let's do this.
Funny thing is, my own affirmations is that I'm a Nigerian.
Mm-hmm.
Once I tell myself I'm a Nigerian, I believe I can do anything.
They all...
I believe I can. I believe I can do anything. Put me anywhere on this earth. You understand? I'll stand out. So for me, I'm like, guy, you're Nigerian, represent. I believe I grew up in Lagos.
Mm-hmm.
I have that Lagos OT.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So I believe I have that Lagos OT and I'm sharp. So I'm like, you know what? I'll be fine.
Right.
You get? Even if I don't know, I have the confidence to say I don't know. Right. So I'm not going there, and I'm not going there to try and form like I know, because I know I want to learn.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's best to go there and be like, come on, I don't know anything. You've got especially if it's a permanent role, nobody's going to take your letter from you and say, right, they want to help you.
They want to help you.
First of all, they push a lot of trainings to you, so they're training you, they're developing you for
getting you ready
for the role. So for me, that was it. And I went in with that mindset. I didn't really need any Casamigos. I didn't need anything. Just saying I was a Nigerian and knowing where I was coming from, and knowing that I'm not going back there. I'm not going back there. That was enough motivation. That's like 100 shots of Casamigos at once, man.
Not going back there.
Not going back.
Nope. Not today. Not forever.
So for me, that was it, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's fair. That's fair. For me, I remember my very first day, and it was back in the day. That period, like I still wearing suit and tie.
Yeah,
that my tie. You know those tie that is when you're going to secondary school. That tie long. I remember that was that day as well. I took my that picture, the picture they would take for you for your pass. If you see the smile,
I know
so I mean, I was excited, and I think I was blessed as well, because the line manager I had, I'll never forget the guy. He was amazing. Now, I think the reason why he was amazing was because he aligned with some of our struggles. Okay. In this woke generation that we have today, you have to be very careful of how you even pass across the message. But I would just say he aligned with some of our struggles. Okay. He was not your average white man. Do you understand? He was also a minority. A minority white man. I don't know if you get the message, but I'll just leave it at that, right? And because they were not necessarily accepted, right? Generally, he just recently they've started getting accepted, and there's a campaign for that. He understood the struggles, so he was a bit more receptive to a lot of the things that. He was receptive to a lot of things I was doing. He was really patient and stuff. And I think that's what kind of like helped me scale through, because I didn't have any support. Like the way people get jobs today and then they can reach out. Even if I can do it myself, I'll connect them with another person. And I've connected you with so many people, that you've helped out as well. I didn't have any of that. Do you understand? So I think it was just a blessing.
Like forerunner.
Yeah. It was a blessing, because like that guy just made it very, very easy for me. And again, I was a sharp guy. I remember when
Cyclones.
No, you see Raja. So I worked at UBA, obviously now before I came to this town to come and hustle, right? And then you want to set up. Nobody was setting up calendar invites now. You walk out from Marina, you go to your meeting, you go from floor to floor, right? And I remember the time when my boss said to me, "Oh, I need you to set up this meeting. Book the meeting room. The meeting room has been booked already. Just set up the meeting." Hey, Baba.
Be like Greek.
Set up meeting. Will you share? How am I going to do this? So, as a sharp guy now, what I did was I just basically started forming, oh, my laptop is hanging. Right. There was another young guy over there.
Yeah.
This one, private educated young boy, right? And he was like, what's going on? I was like, my laptop is struggling and it's really freezing and I want to quickly set up this meeting. Is it okay for you to help me do it while I go speak to IT? The guy said, sure. And I watched the guy do it. When I watched him do it once, I said, okay, now we have started. Me and these people in this place, we'll go pick up. And that was how I started picking up. So I was using the street mentality to navigate a lot of the things. And I did a lot of like self-learning as well.
Yeah.
And I feel a lot of people are just very complacent where, you get your job today and you're heavily reliant on people to kind of like help you. Use YouTube is your friend. Google is your friend. Do you understand? You have to do a lot of like self-learning even whilst you're doing the job. So I think from my personal experience, it was a combination of God's favor. It was a combination of I'm a Nigerian, we are from the streets, like we'll make night lie. We're not going back to where we've come from. And thank God we don't look like what we've been through.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think it was just more of that, So yeah, back to you. So now you've been in the role for quite some time now. How's your journey been in terms of would you say you're one of the lucky ones or you've not had any issues? By issues, you have not been made to feel like, oh, am I not good enough? Or have you felt like your white counterparts have been favored over you? Because, just before you answer that question, it's not always the case. Sometimes your line manager may not like you and it has nothing to do with your race. Do you understand? It may just be like you're just not good at what you do. And you actually just need to level up. Right? But majority of the times, it may be a case of an unconscious bias because most of them, especially the ones that are like private education, raised in like some far place that where they don't see black people, or even when they see black people, the black people they see are like the cleaners in there. So yeah.
So I've been lucky. First of all, I'm lucky to work in a great organization that I wouldn't say, from what I know, there's no unconscious bias. There would be, obviously there would be, but it's probably very, very, very minimal, right? And then I'm also been lucky. I'm lucky that I have an amazing manager, right? She's amazing.
Shout out Lami's manager.
Yeah. So she's an amazing manager, and I from what I see, she treats everybody the same way, right? So I haven't had that problem, as such. You get. So I think that's it for me. It's been I haven't been made to feel like I don't know what I'm doing. Or even when I make mistakes, like there's communication is very important, right? And I think if you're trying to pass across a message, right, the way you communicate the message is more important than the message itself.
Yes.
So there times I've made a mistake. Like I actually even made I made a major mistake last week. Like I made a major mistake last week, right? And it was, let's have a call, right? And they're like, do you need support?
Oh,
do you need extra training? Is there something I didn't do right? So it was more of her than me. Is there something I didn't do right at the beginning? Did I miss training on EU on this? Because it was actually, I've been there for a while, but it was the first time I was doing this.
Okay.
Right? Because we're closing accounts for mid-year.
Okay.
And I was supposed to post something. And I posted it. So I was supposed to post the debit and credits. And I posted it, and the credits posted, the debits didn't post.
Right.
So we had an extra like 35K on our books.
Okay.
Right. So that was major, closing the accounts, the auditor and all of that. So, but it wasn't that, why would you do this? And it was more like, this has happened. Why did this happen? Oh, you've not been trained on this. Oh, was that my mistake? Do you need training? Do you understand? So yeah, it's like
this is the 29-year-old line manager.
Yep.
So do you think it's the fact that, because obviously you're obviously older than her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So do you think it's the generation that she has come from where they grew up with more black people and seeing us as or seeing the people that were born and raised here, seeing them as more of equals than the older generation where it wasn't that. So do you think it was more
I think
of
it's
a
a combination
generational
of
thing?
Yeah, so it's a combination of generational thing and a combination of probably because she lives in London.
Right.
So what you realize is people who live outside London, like you said, they hardly see black people. The black people they see are the people who are the cleaners. So for them, they cannot picture you in that role that you are in.
Yeah.
Right? They expect you to be the person opening the door for them. Or do you understand? But somebody who's lived in London, who grew up in London, like your neighbor that you might even be looking up to might be black.
Yeah.
Right? And then she's from a younger generation. There's social media. Do you understand? So I think that also plays a major role in how she looks at probably me and other black people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you had any interaction with, because you guys face into clients, right? And you would have to work with other managers on the client side. So are you basically verbatim saying to me that you've never faced into any form of unconscious or conscious bias where that made you feel, okay.
So when you speak about that now, something comes to mind, right? Like we interface with clients. I remember, okay, there's the account I work with a particular client, and there are two of us, the two PMOs that he interfaces with. But I just realized that he's always sending emails to the other person. She's a white girl.
All right.
Right?
I know you.
And not me. I know about the emails when they say, well, let's have a meeting. And I know that they've been talking and all of that. And for me, yes, that's definitely biased, right? But I'm like, okay, it's less work for me.
Yeah. So the Nigerian you is like, like, no problem.
No problem. You're giving her more work. I have less work to do. Do you understand? It's not like I don't want to work, but I already have enough on my plate.
Yeah.
So as long as like my plate is super full, is pouring out. You understand? So as long as you're not giving me the extra work and you're giving somebody, fine. It's not like what you're giving her to do is going to add anything to my CV or my capabilities or anything. So it's fine if you don't see me to give me the work.
But hope it's not a situation where he actually gives her the work and then she then comes to you to say, Kola, I need your help with this XYZ. Have you ever had
sometimes that's when I find out that he gave her stuff to do.
Right.
So she's come to meet me, especially because we handle resources on different projects, right?
Yeah.
So we manage support resources on different projects. And so she needs to come to me for my own projects that I support, right? So I'm like, oh, she could have copied me in this mail. It didn't have to come from her. You get?
Right.
It's what it is.
Right.
It's what it is.
I mean, for me personally, thinking about it as well, I've definitely worked with some really horrible people, right? And the way I navigate it is just let my invoice be complete at the end of the month. Pay me my invoice at the end of the month and we're good. Don't worry. Everything else don't matter, right?
Whatever happens in between.
Yeah, whatever happens in between doesn't matter. But then as I'm growing older, I think it bothers me because, like you rightly said, yeah, you represent your generation. You represent, when I mean your generation, of black people, forget all this whole black people, of Nigerians. Because Nigerians, we already have a negative outlook. When they hear Nigerians, they think, oh yeah, all they bang out is fraud. All they do is 419. Do you understand? So when someone says to you, oh, where are you from? Oh, you're from Nigeria. And if you give that, if you guys work together and then you guys then move on and he has everything good to say about you, the next Nigerian he meets would probably have it easier. And we hope and pray that they don't mess up.
Yeah.
Do you understand? But if you don't do well, then obviously there's that bias.
Yeah,
and you can't blame them.
Yeah.
Do you get? So
I can blame them.
I mean,
but I can blame them. I'm not going to blame all the white people I meet for the mistakes of one person. You understand? So I think, first of all, I think that there needs to be a mind shift that if somebody's from somewhere and the person does this, that means everybody else that comes from there is like that. You understand? I'll give everybody the benefit of doubt.
Yeah.
I treat everybody like they're the same. Do you understand? So for me, it's you make a mistake. That mistake is on you. Mistake is not on your it's not your father and your forefathers.
But does that come naturally, or have you educated yourself? Because that's the thing, right? That's why sometimes for me, I mean, I take it, you see this whole, how people are treated, this whole race thing, and how we are treated in a workplace, I tread very carefully, because imagine if, say, I'm a white man and my first experience of a Nigerian is somebody has done something wrong to me, okay? The next time I meet a Nigerian, that's the first thing that comes to mind. So unless I am well informed, where I've gone to do my research and I've said, you know what, actually there are a few bad eggs and it's not everyone that is the same, then I will make a conscious effort not to discriminate. But if I've just said, you know what, forget these people, I'm ruling all of them out, I would have a bias. Facts.
I think for me, the reason why I wouldn't have a bias, right, is because I'm on the side of people who are biased against.
Okay.
If there's a word like that. So I'm a Nigerian, right? And I know that the first thing anybody sees when they look at me is fraud.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, I'm like, if I don't want people to do that to me, so why should I do it to other people?
Fair.
Right. So for me, that's my mindset. I'm like, because I know that I don't do fraud. I'm not a fraud person. I know lots of Nigerians, most of the people I know don't do fraud. All of the people I know don't do fraud, right? So for me, it's should I now look at a Russian and say, because I've been watching movies and I'm working with this Russian guy, is going to shoot me in the night or something? You understand? Right? So there's that. I can't. And I think it's an education. It's an education. It's probably an unconscious education. I think about it, but it's me that has decided to say, okay, you know what? I don't want to look at people for where they come from, but for who they are, for the content, like Martin Luther King said, judge me not by the color of my skin, but by the content of my character. I judge you by the content of your character, not by where you're from. I would care less about where you're from. Yeah.
Okay. All right, no, that makes sense. There are some questions I kind of like prepared here. So, how did you fit in coming from Nigeria, coming from investment banking in Nigeria to PMO in the UK? Was it, I don't know if I've asked this question, but was it, okay, I mean, you said it was straightforward, right? But is there a significant difference in the work culture?
Definitely. So I think there's a bit more structure here. There's a bit more processes. So, I think it's easier.
Yeah.
I think it's easier here. Yes, I think it's easier. So when people come with that mindset, it's a bit confusing because you might have that imposter syndrome and you might be confused and you might not know what to do because it's new. That happens to anybody that's doing anything new. But when you now start it, you actually realize that it's much easier than working in Nigeria. It's much easier than having a place where there are not too many structures, and even the most structured and most process-driven organizations in Nigeria cannot stand beside the average company here. Do you understand? These British people are known for their structure, for their processes. Do you understand? So first of all, is to have that in the back of your mind now more. It's actually easier. It's not as hard as you think it is. So it's if you've been able to work in an organization in Nigeria and do well, you'll be fine here. Do you understand? That's number one. Number two, you have bosses. I remember, this is an aside, but my personal project, and I was working with somebody and she's supposed to be head of operations, right? And she was talking about how she's going to drive people and how I'm going to tell people to do this and tell people to do that. And I knew she hadn't worked in a company here. So her mindset is, that Nigerian mindset of I'm your guy, I'm your boss. Do you understand?
She isn't here in the UK.
Yeah. Okay. So we're working on something together and she's helping me manage people and she's coming with the mindset of I'm going to drive these people and we need to do that. I had to tell her, Auntie, calm down. They don't used to do like this here. I know you just came. You have been here. I know how things work. You understand? All these kind of things now, they can report you for some labor law infraction or something. So you need to calm down. Do you understand? Because like I said, I made a massive mistake and my boss called me and was even blaming herself. You get, but that's the way. That's so it's easier. You're not going to have anybody shouting at you. You're not going to have anybody calling your phone at 7 p.m. or sending you emails. Like if they ever send you an email, they'll probably profusely apologize like 100 times before they send you that email over the weekend, you get. So it's actually easier. So I think people should not be scared. There's no need to be scared. If you worked in Nigeria, you've gotten a job in Nigeria, and you're coming here, you will do very well.
And for those of them that have not, because I would say only maybe half of the Nigerians have migrated from Nigeria here actually had like a 9-to-5 job. Now, by 9 to 5, I'm talking about a proper corporate. Yeah, not working for
Alaji
and Sons. Do you understand? Where you are the MD, you are the sales director, you are the everything. Do you get what I mean? What advice would you kind of like give them? Because prior to 2021, I think the whole visa rule changed in like 2021, 2022 last year. And we started seeing a lot of people coming in mass, right? In mass. And we have worked with quite a number of them. There was a time I partnered with my friend's sister, Mo, and she's an amazing woman, by the way. And, you know, she got us a lot of like Nigerians that we worked with. And what I kind of like saw was, one, yes, we understand when you come to Rome, you act like the Romans, right? We understand that Nigerian, the way we speak is like harsh. Like, I want to do this, right? But you can still speak English, but soften your tone. Okay? That was the first thing I kind of like noticed. And then secondly, it was just a general entitlement where I've paid for a service, you have to break my head and put it inside. Do you get? And that doesn't fly workplace. And even there's an age thing as well. I remember there was this chap I was talking to, and he said, "Oh yeah, I want to, I would like to transition and be a project manager." I said, "It doesn't make sense for you to be a project manager. It's good for you to start off as a PMO and that." And there was a back and forth, and I was like, there are other people who can kind of like do this and do straight PM for you, but for me, I wouldn't go against what I believe in. And we eventually settled for the PMO thing. But I found it very, very difficult working with him because he was obviously older, right? So it was more of, who is this small guy talking to me? Kind of like thing. So what advice would you give our people that have come from Nigeria in terms of how some of the behaviors they need to have to be able to settle in the workplace? Because some of these things are a size of your PMO capabilities or your Scrum or your BA capabilities. These are some of the things that you need to have to be able to integrate properly and even survive.
In society generally, not just the workplace.
Yeah.
Well, my advice would be, forget everything you've learned as a Nigerian. Forget everything you learned in Nigeria. Like, trust me, more than half of the things you've learned the wrong way.
Yeah.
Right? So just as an aside, I'll give an example. Before I moved here, the people used to say, "Oh, if you can drive in Lagos, you can drive anywhere in the world." But if you can drive in Lagos, you will not pass your driving test here. Guaranteed.
Twice.
Guaranteed. Do you understand?
I did my driving test twice.
You need to understand that this is a different environment. This is a different culture. What flies in Nigeria will not fly here. Your voice is loud. Soften your voice.
Yeah.
You don't even realize that you are loud. Right? You think this is the way. I think, okay, so for me, I think some of those things are even more physiological than psychological. So physiological, I mean, like, Lagos is a loud place. A lot of people speak, a lot of people shout.
Because Okada is like in the back,
yes, so you have to speak up. So I'm sure if they test, some people are actually partially deaf and they don't know. So they're actually speaking and they're shouting and they're like, calm down. You understand? Because when you go somewhere, you know that there's a Nigerian there.
Yeah, well.
Right? So you actually have to maybe go and see your GP first when you first come.
First.
Right? Yes.
Am I okay?
Am I okay? Is everything okay? Do you understand? Can I hear well? There's some, you know when they say there are a lot of mad people, but only if you are roaming, speak to a shrink, find out that everything is all right. And it might sound like a joke, right? But there are some jokes you will crack that are not acceptable. That will put you in trouble with HR.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
There are certain things you need to understand. So you first need to understand that you're in a different culture. Understand the culture, learn the culture, and it's not hard. It's not hard. Just watch people around you. Behave like them. You understand? Like,
let them know let them, obviously, stay true to yourself.
Yeah.
But be a sponge. You're new in an environment. Be ready to unlearn some things.
Yep.
And relearn. Do you understand? Because you have to fit in.
Yeah.
You understand? Because obviously, if they come to Nigeria as well now, they'll come and say, how far? They're coming to say how far, not because their hello, good morning doesn't work, but because they want to fit in as well.
Yeah. But another thing also, they should remain true to yourself. So I think just before we started, you gave the example of accents, right? And speaking in accents. Don't come here and try and be forming for now and they cannot hear you. Like I know one girl that she was speaking to her manager. The manager was like, I can't hear you. Can you speak up? She was talking. I knew the manager could not hear what she was saying because she was trying to speak. Just speak normally. Like the people I like are the Indians. They don't try and form. They're not trying to form any British accents. They are speaking in their Indian accents. Yeah. If you can hear them, fine. If you cannot hear them,
they'll repeat themselves.
Yeah, they'll repeat themselves. Do you understand? So you're Nigerian. I speak with my Nigerian accents to everybody. When I first came, I think the first day I tried to, but by the time I beat my tongue like 3 times, I don't bite myself. Cha. Like, come on, guys, speak normally.
This one too hard, dude.
This too hard. No, you know they work. Do you understand? I might be sounding Australian now, sounding British, sounding American. Nah, it's not necessary.
Just stay true to yourself.
Stay true to yourself. If people can't hear you, speak slowly, articulate all your thoughts, and speak slowly, and people will hear you. So still be true to yourself. Don't lose that your Niger flair. Don't lose the essence of who you are.
Yeah.
But also understand that you're in a new environment and you need to fit in.
Okay. That's really good. Thank you, Lami. So I would wrap up this episode by saying this episode is different. Usually I will end by saying, oh yeah, do you want to get into project management? Do you want to get into PMO? Reach out to us. We're here and all that. Nah, not doing any of that today. What we're doing today is stay true to yourself. And obviously we're both Nigerians. And yes, there's the issue of, okay, fine, we're all identified as Black people in the UK, but you have different categories of Black people. Do you understand? There's us Africans that came in. There's the Caribbeans that came in. Do you understand? And there's the ones that are like born here and, you know, I've kind of like, they grew up with the Oyimbos and, you know, everything is okay. But speaking generally to the Africans, right? And I'm sure a lot of the other people from the Caribbean and people that were born here so can obviously relate, because the reality of this is we all have the same melanin in our skin and we all kind of like share a common struggle. Our struggles may be different, but it's still under the same umbrella. You can achieve anything you set your mind to. That's the first thing. The second thing is to always stay true to yourself. By staying true to yourself, if you know that you have bad attitude, you know that your attitude is bad, please don't stay true to yourself. Right? By staying true to yourself, accept the fact that you need help and you need to change and seek the help that you need. Do you understand? That's the second thing. On that particular point as well, I found that a lot of the way we were brought up as Nigerians, I think our generation, a lot of us, especially the men, we all need therapy. Right? We all need therapy. Guaranteed, we all need therapy. Right? If you see that your situation is a bit peak, there's nothing, people will say, oh yeah, African men don't need therapy. Nah, we do. Okay. And I'm sorry to say this, but it's not talking to your pastor, right? It's talking to a trained therapist who can kind of like talk to you and just kind of like help you. It will not just help you as a person, it would also help
those around you,
and also help you in just generally in life as you try to navigate the next phase of your life. You know, because it's hard enough coming from Nigeria. You know, you spent a lot of money, so what did they ought? You are. So the first thing you want to do is just to try and hustle. But at the same time, you have to open your mind and be ready to like unlearn bad habits and relearn new habits. And understand that the culture here is different. Just because you're older than me doesn't mean you know more than I do. I know. Do you understand? So be humble, be ready to basically just put your head down and learn from anyone, irrespective of their age brackets, irrespective of even this whole homophobia rubbish that we have in Nigeria as well, just carried of all that unnecessary behavior. Do you understand? Everyone has a right to choose how they want to live their lives, right? Respect it and just get what you want to get out of it. Do you get? And then finally, I think the last thing I will say on this point is about staying true to yourself. You need to ensure that you constantly improve yourself. Okay. Now, yes, we come in, we want to, like, a lot of them like do like care jobs or do work in customer service, work in warehouse. It's temporary because them bills don't stop. Those bills continue. Do you understand? But you need to set a plan for yourself, right? And start working towards it, and don't get distracted. Because all it takes is if you set like a 6-month roadmap for yourself and you are able to implement it, get on a program, once you get that job, everything changes for you. And it's not just financially. Even your social circle starts to change. Do you understand? And how you package yourself, right, is how you're getting your children ready to be packaged for life. Do you understand? Because they will say a lion doesn't give birth to a goat. A lion only gives birth to a lion.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So you're not just doing this for you. And you're not just doing it for the money. Right? You need the money to survive, but it's about character building, persona building, and just having content. One thing, if not anything, that I appreciate in this country is I feel like if I stayed back in Nigeria, yes, if it don't blow, I'd have made enough money. But will I be the man that I am today in terms of am I confident that I know my stuff? I can speak to anybody. It doesn't take me time to understand stuff. No, I wouldn't. Because I would just be chasing money.
Yep.
Do you understand? I would just be chasing money. I would have no content at all. So that's one thing that for some of us that are here, like, just get yourself out of that mindset that it's just all about money. Yes, money is good, but try and build yourself and develop yourself as an individual as well. So, if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh my God, these guys are talking to me, me, I like talking. Do you understand? You can just reach out, we can just gist. It doesn't have to come up. It doesn't have to amount to anything. I mean, I'm a young guy, but I've actually been through a lot in this town. Do you understand? A lot of my life experiences, I learned it here. I was very sheltered in Nigeria. Do you understand? Like, my parents sheltered me, like driver everywhere. Do you understand? Like, all my life experiences, I learned them here. I can recommend therapy because I've been through therapy and I'm still in therapy myself. And I can see how it has kind of helped me navigate relationships, know when to pull the plug on relationships, and knowing how to stand up for yourself in the workplace as well. Because sometimes knowing how to identify if actually I messed up or this person is just racist. Do you understand? It's just things like that. So yeah, I think I'll just draw the curtain there. Is there anything, final words?
I think final words would be your outlook. Everybody's outlook should remain positive. Always see the cup as half full and not half empty.
Yeah.
Right. With a positive attitude, with positive mindsets, you do anything, you go anywhere. First of all, you already have black blood in you.
Yeah.
You understand this. Over the years, your DNA has been, would I say, modulated in such a way that you are fighting, you fought against things.
Yes.
Right? So you need to continue to fight against things, but you also at the end of the day, you need to have a positive outlook on life. If you have a positive outlook, trust me, you go very far.
Yeah.
You go very far. Well, we're the ones that limit ourselves at the end of the day. Like, your worst enemy is the person you see when you look in the mirror.
100%.
But once you are able to make that your worst enemy your best friend, you're able to do what's best for you from everything. Like you said, therapy, diet, exercising, self-development. The sky is the beginning.
Yeah. No, 100%. 100%. And Davido and his clan, they always say this thing about we rise by lifting others.
I'm sure this is a nice time to be mentioning Davido.
No comments. but
we learn from everybody.
We rise by lifting others, right? Yeah. And the reason why I'm saying this particular one is a lot of if you know that there's a way that you have seen a way, and that way has helped you, and you are making it in life, please don't shut the door behind you.
Yeah.
Don't just leave the door open, or drop that ladder and let people climb up to come and like join you.
That's
because there's enough
Asians and black people.
Yeah. There's enough space for everybody,
especially in this country.
Yeah, there's enough space for everyone. Do you understand? Like you want to be able to go out with your friends, and all of your friends are doing well. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Some people thrive on people coming to talk to them about their problems. That's a very bad mentality to have. And if you have that, please, you definitely need therapy. Do you understand? So it's about being empathic, right? And also trying to ensure that if you have an opportunity to help others, help them. You're not just doing it because you're a good person, or you're not just doing it for a feel-good moment for you. You're not just doing it to help the person. You are setting an example for your kids and the generation to come, right? And then you're indirectly sowing a seed into their lives. Because if you do well for me, and I really appreciate that you actually came through for me when I had nothing, and 20 years down the line, maybe I will not be in the UK by God's grace, but like say maybe you're in Portugal, I'm in one place, and your kid happens to be in the place where I am, all you need to do is just drop me a message or call me, my kid is coming to this place and I need you to connect him. I won't think twice, because I will forever hold you dear to my heart for the good thing that you did to me.
Yep.
Do you understand? So we don't always have to benefit from helping people. Sometimes just be good. And let's draw the line as well, because we have people that will come and say, are you not in Nigeria? I'm sorry, we run a business. Do you understand? But just know where to draw the line as well.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for tuning in. This episode has been slightly different. So what we spoke about today was just more about the struggles in the workplace, and we're kind of like, navigated not just in the workplace, but life as Africans, as Nigerians, as Black people generally. And we kind of like ended on, some of the lessons that we've learned and some of the things that we need to do to kind of like set ourselves on the right pedestal. I hope this, made sense to you guys. If you want to chat, please reach out. My email address, Tolu at thenewleafgroup.co.uk, our website, www.thenewleafgroup.co.uk. We're a project management training organization. I'm not going to talk to you about come and do training and all that. No, I think the vibe for today is just more of let's do better as a people. Let's understand that, a lot of us have been through those struggles. A lot of us have been through the imposter syndrome, and we overcame, and we're doing okay for ourselves. We still face it now, but we are surviving. So if we can do it, you can definitely do it. But there are some things you need to put in place. You need to ensure that you understand who you are as a person. You need to make sure that you stay true to yourself. And you need to just do like a self-retrospective on yourself and say, okay, fine, what are the bad behaviors I have that may stop me from achieving what I want to achieve? And provided you can list those things and you can start working towards it, not only will it help you as a person, but would also make your career transition a lot easier as well. Go by the name Tolu. And my brother, Lamike, Kola, we're signing out. Have a good one, guys.
The Newleaf Podcast. Project Management Insights. Be assured.